Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, July 22nd. Coming to you live from Seoul, I'm Kim Mo-gyeon. Before we begin, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. South Korea once again broke its highest daily record of COVID-19 infections Thursday, surpassing the 1,800 mark. Authorities are likely to extend the current level of forward distancing measures for another 2 weeks. The World Health Organization says the highly contagious Delta variant has now been identified in 124 countries and is expected to become the dominant strain within months. And the IMF is holding its 2021 global growth forecast unchanged at 6% due to the increased availability of COVID-19 vaccines and the reopening of many economies. Let's begin with the COVID-19 situation here in the country. South Korea broke yet another daily record on Thursday, exceeding the 1,800 mark for the very first time. Now, this comes as hundreds of cases were added from a massive cluster infection from the Navy's Zhengshou unit. For more, let's turn to our Kim Dami, who's on the line for us. Dami, give us the details.
Mo-gyeon, the country has reached yet another grim milestone, recording 1,842 new COVID-19 cases in just one day. That's the highest number since the pandemic began, topping the previous record of 1,784 from the day before. 270 confirmed cases from the South Korean Navy's Zhengshou unit that returned from a mission in waters of Africa are also included, bringing the number of imported cases to 309. In fact, it's the first time for imported cases to reach a three-digit figure. On top of that, the fast-spreading Delta variant is making the situation even worse, creating cluster infections among local communities in the non-metropolitan area as well. So under these circumstances, it's highly likely that the government will extend the current level 4 distancing measures in the Greater Seoul area for 2 more weeks. Local health authorities say they will wait until the weekend before considering a change to the current measures, which are set to end on Sunday. That may also include revising restrictions on private gatherings after 6 p.m. in the non-metropolitan area. That's all I have. Back to you again.
Thank you for the updates, Tammy. Now, amid the surge, more cities outside the capital area raised distancing measures. That includes 2 of the most popular summer vacation destinations in the country, Busan and Gangneung. Tougher restrictions are also placed on beaches. Lee Kyung-eun fills us in.
More parts of South Korea are raising their social distancing levels amid a surge of COVID-19 cases. Previously, only the capital region had applied level 4, the highest measure in the country's 4-tier scheme. Other regions were to follow the nationwide ban on gatherings of 5 or more, while keeping lower distancing levels depending on their situation. But that was not enough for some summer hotspots, which decided to raise their levels. The latest city to do so is Busan. It raised the distancing level to 3, adding it is now ruling on imposing the highest level if the situation doesn't improve. Also, an executive order has been issued for the city's beaches, banning eating or drinking after 6 p.m. Jeju-do Island is also under level 3, along with some tourist spots in Gyeongsangnam-do province. Meanwhile, the city of Gangneung in Gangwon-do province took the boldest action, raising its measures to the highest level. Not only is it the first place outside the capital region to apply level 4 measures, but it has also introduced other tough restrictions not seen anywhere in the country. All cafes and restaurants must close by 8 p.m. instead of 10 p.m. mandated under the level 4 guidelines. Also, starting from 8 p.m., the beaches will shut until 9 a.m. the next morning.
We can cancel all the bookings already made in the afternoon, but visitors cannot go onto the beach after 8 p.m.
Separate from the individual efforts by local governments, the central government has expanded a ban on all concerts or performances at places other than theaters to the whole country, and is also considering expanding the capital region's ban on gatherings up to 2 after 6 p.m. to the rest of the country. Lee Kyung-eun, Arirang News.
The World Health Organization is warning that the Delta variant, known to be more transmissible than the original, is on track to become the world's dominant COVID-19 strain. The variant is fueling cases in many parts of the world, including the U.S. and Europe. Kim Hyo-san reports.
The World Health Organization says the highly contagious Delta variant has now been identified in 124 countries and is expected to become the dominant strain within months. This is 13 more countries than the previous week. The WHO also said the global number of COVID-19 cases jumped 12% on week, with over 190 million accumulated cases so far. The U.S. is one country experiencing the rampant spread of the Delta strain, with COVID-19 cases nearly tripling over the past 2 weeks. The country is also reporting more COVID-19 infections among children who are not yet eligible to be vaccinated. The American Academy of Pediatrics says over 23,000 child COVID-19 patients were reported between July 8th and 15th, nearly twofold the number seen in late June. Amid the continued spread of the Delta variant, American health experts are stressing the importance of getting vaccinated.
Our vaccines that we're using in this country are very effective against this variant, particularly, I point out, to the situation regarding advanced disease leading to hospitalizations and deaths, where it's still well in the 90% of effectiveness.
As new cases surge in Britain, its Prime Minister, Treasury Chief, and the leader of the main opposition Labour Party are under self-quarantine after being exposed to COVID-19. Germany is also grappling with the Delta variant, with its health minister warning the public that if case numbers keep rising at the current pace, the country could see the number of infections per 100,000 people over the course of a week to exceed 400 in September. Over 50 million people, or 60% of Germany's total population, have received at least one COVID-19 shot. About 47% are fully vaccinated. Kim Hyo-san, Arirang News.
The IMF is holding its 2021 global growth forecast unchanged at 6%, but warns there could be big differences between various countries. While the IMF will release its updated economic outlook forecast next week, its chief said during a virtual event Wednesday, its forecast between April and July remained the same. The IMF projected in April that global growth this year would hit 6%, a rate unseen since the 1970s due to the increased availability of COVID-19 vaccines and the reopening of many economies. U.S. First Lady Jill Biden left Washington for Tokyo on Wednesday to lead the U.S. diplomatic delegation to the Olympics. According to her office, Mrs. Biden will arrive in Tokyo Thursday afternoon before having dinner with Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga and his wife. On Friday, she'll attend the opening ceremony, meet Team USA athletes, American Foreign Service officers, and Japan's emperor. En route to Tokyo, she'll stop in Alaska to greet military families and encourage them to get vaccinated. South Korea's hunt for the Olympic medals begins with the men's football match against New Zealand on Thursday. Other athletes are gearing up as well, with various competitions set to be held over the coming days. Our Kim Do-yeon provides a glimpse of what to expect.
The very first athletes to represent South Korea in this summer's Olympics will be the men's football team, which faces New Zealand on Thursday. Head coach Kim Hak-bum says New Zealand will be a tough opponent but remains confident in clinching a victory. He said the country is going through hard times due to COVID-19, so the team will do its best to deliver good news to the citizens. Other athletes are gearing up for their first matches as well. Next up to represent South Korea will be the nation's archers, who are set to release their first arrows at 9 a.m. on Friday. South Korea has swept up 23 of the 40 Olympic gold medals on offer in archery since 1990 and is aiming to claim gold in all 5 events in Tokyo. But Tokyo 2020 will be the last Olympics for world-class women's volleyball player Kim Yeon-kyung. She has been very vocal about her motivation for an Olympic medal throughout her career and even returned to Korea's domestic league last year to help maintain her match sharpness. Kim and the rest of the women's volleyball team will finish up their preparations with a warm-up match against Italy on Friday before facing Brazil on Sunday. Then there's the defending champions men's baseball team, which has been practicing hard in Korea. Baseball was removed as an Olympic sport after Beijing 2008, but has made a return for Tokyo 2020. South Korea's team has 3 tune-up games scheduled this week with domestic pro teams and will depart for Tokyo on Monday before facing Israel next Friday in the first game. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Ratings agency Fitch has kept South Korea's rating at AA-, the agency's fourth highest level. The country has kept this rating since September 2012. In a report on Thursday, the global credit ratings agency said its outlook for the country is stable, citing robust external finances and a steady economic performance. It added the government has been coping with the pandemic well, and a rise in exports has led to economic recovery. The agency projected the GDP growth for this year to be 4.5% and next year to be 3%. Top diplomats from South Korea, the U.S., and Japan met in Tokyo Wednesday for talks on boosting three-way cooperation. They also agreed to work together on North Korea-related issues. Our foreign affairs correspondent Yoon Jang-min reports.
South Korea, the U.S., and Japan agreed to work together on Korean peninsula issues at a vice ministerial meeting on Wednesday in Tokyo. Speaking at a press conference afterwards, U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman said the Seoul-Washington-Tokyo cooperation has sent a critical message to the North.
That close coordination sends a very critical message to North Korea in that we are together and shoulder to shoulder in our approach to this policy. The United States has made it clear that we are ready to engage with North Korea. They know that. We hope they respond positively.
Seoul's Vice Foreign Minister Choi Jong-won said they exchanged views on the complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula, stressing the need for trilateral cooperation because it's an issue that takes a long time to resolve. Japan's Vice Foreign Minister Takeo Mori stressed the importance of implementing UN Security Council resolutions on North Korea while asking for cooperation to resolve the issue of North Korea's abduction of Japanese citizens 4 decades ago. This was the first three-way vice ministerial meeting in 4 years, and it came as Seoul-Tokyo relations hit a fresh low following recent inappropriate remarks by a senior Seoul-based Japanese diplomat about President Moon Jae-in, as well as a series of historical and territorial issues. Both the South Korean and Japanese vice foreign ministers have agreed to continue dialogue.
Regarding a visit to Japan by our president and the summit between our two countries, I would like to reaffirm that we will continue to make efforts to resolve our pending issues based on the achievements that have been made at the working level.
The three diplomats also discussed issues related to Myanmar, climate change, global health, and the economic recovery. In a readout, the U.S. State Department said they affirmed the need to maintain an inclusive, free, and open Indo-Pacific and opposition to any instability in the East China Sea. On Thursday, U.S. Deputy Secretary Sherman will have a meeting with South Korean Foreign Minister Chung Eui-yong in Seoul and separate talks with her Korean counterpart Choi on Friday. Yoon Jang-min, Arirang News.
U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman will visit China on Sunday as the two countries look to navigate their troubled bilateral relationship and cooperate in areas of mutual concern, including North Korea. The State Department announced Wednesday that Sherman will meet with Chinese officials, including Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Beijing. The focus of her two-day visit is expected to be North Korea, as State Department spokesman Ned Price also reiterated on Wednesday that Washington and Beijing share a common interest when it comes to the regime. While noting there are elements that are adversarial between the U.S. and China, Price pointed out Washington will seek to explore the potential for cooperation when their interests are aligned. At least 25 people are dead and 7 missing in China's central province of Hainan as the city Zhengshou saw a year's worth of rain in just 3 days, sparking massive flooding. Lee Seung-jae has a story.
At least 25 people are dead and several more missing as the Chinese city of Zhengshou in the central province of Henan has seen some of its heaviest rainfall on record over the past few days. According to local weather authorities, almost 620 millimeters of rain fell in the city over a 3-day period, the amount Zhengshou would normally see over an entire year. The sheer amount of rain is the highest Zhengshou has experienced since record-keeping began 60 years ago. In a city of more than 10 million people, about 200,000 Zhengshou residents have already evacuated as the rain paralyzed streets and the subway system. The torrential rain has also damaged 75,000 hectares of crops, resulting in a direct economic loss of over $84 million. As the rain continued Wednesday, thousands of firefighters and soldiers were deployed to the affected regions to help with search and rescue efforts. Chinese President Xi Jinping went on state TV to call on authorities at all levels to give priority to ensuring people's safety and to implement flood prevention and disaster relief measures. While Zhengshou may have been hit the hardest by the rain, more than 1.2 million people in 89 counties, cities, and districts in Henan province have been affected. Henan is home to the Shaolin Temple, as well as many other cultural sites, and is one of China's most populous regions. Experts say while floods are common during China's rainy season, the threat has worsened in recent decades due to the construction of dams and levees. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
A magnitude 6.8 earthquake has rocked the southern coast of Panama and Costa Rica. The European Mediterranean Seismological Center said the quake happened at 4:15 p.m. local time on Wednesday, with the epicenter of the Pacific coast near the Panama-Costa Rica border. No immediate damage has been reported as the quake was relatively far from any major populated areas. But authorities have begun inspecting structures for any potential damage. On Wednesday, South Korea saw the highest temperature of this year so far at 36 degrees Celsius. Experts believe the high atmospheric pressures causing this heat mean the conditions will likely last throughout the weekend. Kim Yeon-sung tells us more.
Temperatures hit 36 degrees Celsius in South Korea on Wednesday, the hottest so far this year. Two atmospheric pressure systems have overlapped over the Korean peninsula and have trapped in the heat and humidity to create such high temperatures.
Up to 5 kilometers up in the middle atmosphere, a North Pacific high-pressure system is over Korea. And 11 to 12 kilometers above that, there's a Tibetan high-pressure system. With a hot, dry pressure clocking over the North Pacific high, there's warm air all the way to the high altitudes.
Experts say that the scorching heat could continue throughout this weekend and even reach 38 degrees Celsius. The forecast temperature borders close to the hottest temperature ever logged in South Korea, which was 39.6 degrees in 2018 and 38.4 degrees Celsius in 1994. Preventing heat-related illnesses is of utmost importance during sweltering days like these. Heat-related illnesses generally start out with acute symptoms of heat exhaustion. But when they reach the point of heat stroke, they can even lead to death. According to the Korean Disease Control and Prevention Agency, from mid-May to mid-July, 436 people suffered from heat-related illnesses and 6 people died from heat stroke.
So the usual symptoms is heavy sweating, becoming dizzy, having fatigue, rapid pulse and moist skin with goosebumps possibly. Some people go ahead to have muscle cramps and nausea and headache. So these are some of the most common symptoms.
Frequent rest and hydration are key on days like these. Kim Yeon-sung, Arirang News.
Welcome. It's time for The World Now, bringing you some of the most interesting news from around the globe. I'm Ji-young. With the 2020 Tokyo Games just around the corner, 5 rings were visible in the Tokyo sky. The Olympic symbol was drawn by the Japanese Air Force's acrobatic demonstration squadron, nicknamed Blue Impulse. This was done in a practice flight on Wednesday ahead of the main performance, marking the official start of the Olympics. On Friday, they'll draw rings displaying the original Olympic colors of blue, yellow, black, green, and red. An unwelcome guest has spooked parliament in southern Spain. A rat unexpectedly entered the chamber on Wednesday and interrupted a session of Andalusia's regional parliament. The rodent took to the floor and appeared under desks used by members just as they were set to vote on a bill. It caused havoc as lawmakers left their seats to scramble for higher ground. Once the fuss was over, members returned to their duties, but witnesses said the rat was pretty huge. Dozens of women in Saudi Arabia have joined the security services as guards in Mecca and Medina, Islam's holiest sites, for the first time. One of the female soldiers, Mona, spends her shifts roaming in the Grand Mosque in Mecca to help make things secure for the annual Hajj pilgrimage. Mona says she joined the forces in honor of her late father, who also served in the military.
May God rest his soul. Standing here at the Grand Mosque in Mecca, the holiest place, to serve the worshippers is a very noble and honorable task.
This is part of Saudi Crown Prince's social and economic reform plan called Vision 2030 to modernize the conservative Muslim kingdom. He removed the driving ban on women as well as allowing adult women to travel without needing permission and to have more control over family issues.
Good morning. Today's Taeseo, meaning the big heat in Korean, and to live up to its name, will have more unbearably hot temperatures. It's going to feel like close to 40 degrees Celsius in the capital region under blazing sunshine. So Seoul, Chuncheon, and Gwangju will be heating up to 36 degrees Celsius. Western parts of the country will be hotter than the east again. Meanwhile, Western Gangwon province could see spreading rain in the late afternoon. Until the weekend, we are looking at non-stop intense heat under sunny skies. So it's important that we stay safe in the extreme heat, and these are some of tips to keep in mind. You know, while iced coffee or cold beer sounds enticing on a sweltering day like today, be aware that they can cause dehydration, so it's best to avoid them and drink water instead. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
And that will do it for us at this hour on Arirang News. We'll be back at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching.